Hi, I'm Dale Lind, and we've been talking over the last couple of weeks about a series of free webinars that I have planned to put on for you to help you become more engaged and inspired in every part of your life. Now, as a matter of fact, I've already released the first installment in this series of free webinars, and I've gotten some good reviews on it. But in my discussions, it has occurred to me that if I could do these webinars live, how much better they would be. Wouldn't you like that? If you were able to participate in a live webinar, ask questions, get answers, see other people's questions, other people's answers, get instant feedback on the spot. With that thought in mind, I've decided to review my approach to these webinars and basically start them all over again, but in a live format. Now, you just keep and enjoy the one that I've already sent out, but I'm going to do it live, starting this Tuesday, actually, this coming Tuesday, just 2 days from now. And in this series of webinars, I'm going to give you valuable tips that will help you improve your relationships by helping you understand yourself, learning how to put your strengths to work for you and accommodate plans for controlling your weaknesses, and possibly most importantly of all, because we do know that emotional intelligence has turned out to be far more important in determining your ultimate success in life than intellectual intelligence. I'm going to show you some quick tips that you can use right away to improve your emotional intelligence skills. Now, if that sounds good to you, why don't you just go ahead and click the Register Now button and join me for what I know is going to be a very valuable and fun series of webinars. Thank you. Hi, and thank you for registering for this series of free webinars. I'm excited that you care enough to want to join me, and I think you won't be sorry. In fact, I know you won't be sorry. In the first webinar, we're going to take a look at the sorry state of employee engagement in this country, and it is pretty bad, and you'll see what I mean by that. Then we're going to take a look at why this lack of engagement happens. I'm going to give you a real-life case study based on myself and my own personal experiences to show the importance of understanding the relationship between talents and engagement. And then we're going to take a look at my talent discovery tool. After that, the second webinar, I think you're going to like too. And that one, which I call Engaging and Inspiring with Your Most Effective and Natural Leadership Style, we're going to learn a little bit about why engagement is important. We're going to look at the difference between managing, directing, and engaging and inspiring. And I think when I'm done, you'll know which way you would rather have a boss treat you. We'll look at the impact of personality on the ability to engage and inspire. We'll have a discussion of the key elements of an engagement culture, and then we'll take a look at your leadership style based on your personality as discovered and outlined and quantified in the talent discovery tool that I will be sharing with you. And I think you're going to like that one. The final webinar is going to have a different focus. We're going to focus a bit on emotional intelligence. I call this one Blending Diverse Individuals into High-Performing Teams. You're going to learn about how you interact with people, the kind of impact you have on people, what you need to do to maybe tone it down or elevate your personality. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence blockages and things that are robbing your energy and how to eliminate them. And we're going to talk about forming complementary supportive team relationships. And that idea, folks, is going to be one of the most valuable concepts I'll share with you. So once again, thank you for registering. There's a lot to look forward to, and I look forward to sharing in this live webinar series. I want to give you a little break now and show you some pretty pictures. We're going to look at the difference between talent and experience. See, when it comes to succeeding, there are some important points you need to be aware of. First of all, as to talent, it's a gift that can be developed, but it can't be taught. You see, hardwired directly into your DNA, are talents or propensities to be good at something or to prefer doing something over other things. It's built right into your DNA, and everyone has these natural propensities or these natural talents. However, sadly, it appears that many people, maybe even most people, never fully understand or appreciate what they could do with those talents. Then there's the importance of experience. It is important, but experience without talent can be a waste of time. Let me give you an example. I like to watch Hell's Kitchen. Gordon Ramsay. In spite of the language, you learn a lot about cooking, but about life in general. In a recent competition, Chef Richard was by far the most experienced, but he only made it about halfway through. And Gordon Ramsay said something upon dismissing Richard that makes my point about the importance of talent versus experience. He said, Richard, by far, was the most experienced chef we had. I believe he had about 25 years experience as a chef. But according to Gordon Ramsay, he proved conclusively that he had no talent for cooking. Now that's kind of sad, isn't it? Building a career on something you really didn't seem to have the natural talents for. I suppose as a short order cook he did well, but he just couldn't make it in that competition. He had the experience, but not the talents. Keep that thought in mind. See, there's a widespread talent problem. It turns out that less than 30% of the workforce get to use their best, most preferred talents effectively, and that's pretty low. If they aren't doing what they like and are good at, how can they be engaged and inspired? You see, and we've already made the point that lack of engagement and inspiration on the job is a workplace cancer of epidemic proportions. Now, I want to introduce you to my Laser Talent Assessment Survey. I hope you've downloaded it and that you are ready to use it. But basically, I want you to see what it looks like. Here's the assessment survey right here. All right, a list of 64 phrases that may or may not be true of you. Now, in order to get the best, most accurate pattern, do not check everything. If you check everything, there will be no pattern at all. You'll be a flatliner, and in medical terms, we all know a flatliner is, well, dead. You want a pattern to be able to work with here. So when you are putting your one in the box of each one that's true to you, make sure that it really is true to you most of the time, that it describes something not only that you do, but that you do well and in fact like to do. For example, in my case, I adapt easily to change in new situations. It just comes naturally to me. Precision and accuracy, on the other hand, that's not me at all. I mean, I can be precise, I can be accurate, but let me tell you, the amount of work and concentration that goes into making that happen is very, very difficult. I have principles, I think, and I think I have high ethical standards, but one thing I won't do is hang on to something in the face of mounting evidence that it may not exactly be right. I may not die for too many causes, so I don't check this one, not because I'm not ethical, but because I understand that maybe I am not die first level of ethical. Now let's go over here to your scoring page. You'll notice that I have outlined the 4 personality divisions of talent here. I'll explain more about that in a little bit. I don't want you to know too much about it now, but you'll notice that this sheet here looks a little bit like this on the like this one on the periphery. So what you do is you go over here and you look at this column, and everywhere along here, in fact, it's not a bad idea to take this, move it over, and lay it down right here on top of this, lining the boxes up. Well, they do line up almost perfectly, as perfectly as I could make them line up anyway. Now lay them side by side here, and everywhere you have a 1 here, put a corresponding 1 here, because this begins to help you identify your personality mix. Same is true over here. You take this column here of boxes, line it up with this column of boxes. Probably move it over here so that you can just see this box without seeing what the word or the phrases are. And wherever there's a 1 here, put a 1 there. And when you are done, count the number of times you marked cheerleader, the number of times you marked server, stabilizer, and captain. Record those numbers here, and then make a little graph for yourself. I'll draw a picture for you here. This is kind of what my graph would look like. We'd have a center line here of around the 8 mark. So you would, in my particular case, for captain, my score would probably be about a 10. So I'd have a mark here. Cheerleader usually goes up to 16, so I have a mark here. The stabilizer, pretty low, hardly have any of that. That would come down to here. And then my my server, a little bit higher, but still probably more like a 7. So that's what my graph would look like, and you take a look at what your graph might look like. Now, what can you learn from my laser talent assessment tool? Well, first of all, it's a 4-factor tool. In fact, most of them are, and they all trace their roots back to someone you've probably heard of, Hippocrates, the physician's oath. And then about 600 years later, a Roman physician, Galen, picked up on Hippocrates' work and refined it quite a bit. So it's 4-factor, and here's how it lays out. There's my captain. That's the action. Those are the talents for being action-oriented, taking charge, pursuing opportunity, practicing independence, and being in control. Those are the captain tendencies. Now, what are the cheerleader tendencies? Well, that's all about socialization, fun, harmony, variety, change, relationships. Then we have the stabilizer. This would be constancy, consistency, routine, dependability, predictability. Already I have told you these are my 2 highest, with this being the highest, so begin to see that I like to have fun, but I like to have it my way. Stabilizer, well, that's low, that's consistency, so I may not be very predictable. I certainly don't have routines. And then the final one, server. That's all about service, quality, perfection, formality, being right, creativity, and details. And I've got a little bit of that. It's a little service thing. I can produce quality, but maybe I'm creative. I have my days a little bit stronger than up here, but once again, these are my primary. But here's what I want you to know right now. Don't say you're a captain, although I know you will, as everyone does. I've done this with thousands of people, and they all say, I'm a captain, or I'm a cheerleader, or I'm a stabilizer. And usually right after I've told them, don't say that. What you can say, though, because there is an interaction here between the 4, if you follow what I'm saying, then there is an interaction. So in my particular case, my primary driver is my cheerleader. And that makes it easy for me to get lost in having fun and developing relationships. But the captain is just strong enough so that it can push me to action and force me to make a decision. Though I will say that because relationships are so important to me, it can be hard to make a tough decision and if an issue of difficult order. Now, the stabilizer here, this is where I have trouble. That would be consistency. That would be dependability. I'm dependable. I show up wherever I say I'm going to go, but I'm not terribly predictable. I'm certainly not routine. And I am very flexible. That's part of being a cheerleader, flexibility. So I can give up routines pretty easily. And then there is the server here. That's service, quality, perfection. That's strong enough to remind me that I really do need to put other people first once in a while. And I do have to be sure that if I'm not looking after the details, at least somebody is. And I can produce quality, but I can tell you it doesn't come naturally, and it takes me a lot of redos to get quality in any project, even the ones that I'm good at and enjoy doing. Well, then you're going to get 4 charts that look something like this. Now, to make it easy, I'll explain to you that if you looked at all 4 charts, you'd say, yeah, I got a few things from every chart, but we've got to look at our primary drivers, you see. So we know that mine is cheerleader. So what do I find whenever I look at my chart? Well, first of all, I end up checking them all. They're all true of me. I do accept change and I adjust well. I do like to help others grow. I like to have fun. I like hospitality. I like negotiation. In fact, I'm so committed to win-win that if I'm working with you and I have negotiated a win-win and later I need you to negotiate with me and you don't, it actually makes me angry. It makes me want to hurt you. It's actually one of the dark sides of that particular talent. And as I said, I've got a few of the captain here, so I can face competition. I don't mind leading out, but what I don't have so much is staying focused. I see the big picture, but I do miss the details, which are over here. But anyway, you go to your top one or maybe your top two, check the ones that are true of you and complete the exercises, and that will bring you to a little better understanding of what your natural personality is. Now, let me show you a little picture using myself as an example here. This is a picture of me, you see. And this is produced by my online, very technical, interactive, much more accurate personality assessment that I will be offering you the opportunity to take at some point in this series. And I hope you will, because you'll learn so much more about yourself. But here's what I want you to see. Notice that high cheerleader. And what this is me compared to a situation in my job where you probably can see that this was the job at the time. The job wasn't permanently this way, but the state of the company had gotten to be such that I needed this more of a focus. I needed to be a little less interested in being the boss and a little more interested in being cooperative, a little less interested in socializing and a little more focused on nose to the grindstone, a little less intolerant of details and a little more tolerant of routine and consistency, and quite a bit less, quite a bit more focused on quality and getting it right, more than what came natural to me. Let me show you what happened. In essence, you see, the job wanted me to slow down and think before I acted. Here's kind of where I was. Just don't rush to decisions quite as much. Well, what would be the result of me doing that? Well, to be honest with you, stress. Anytime you have to work outside your natural personality, you're going to get some stress. Well, that wasn't all. The job wanted me to be less social and more focused. What would be the result of my efforts? Well, stress. Quite a bit of stress. The job wanted me to slow down and take one step at a time. Here I am rushing from one thing to the next. The job is saying, slow down, finish something, be focused, be a little more consistent. Well, the result of that, stress. And finally, the job wanted me to reach perfection, make quality and getting it right a little bit more of my personal concern. And once again, not my natural personality. The result, stress. Now, let me explain something to you. You've got 3 or 4 different size stress things here, and usually I say, well, what do you think the biggest problem was? Be this. Okay, in terms of volume, though, that's not exactly correct. In terms of stress impact on my ability to feel good, that's not really the biggest problem, because not all stress is created equal. Sure, there's a big gap here, and it's a stress-related gap, but it turns out that this stress of toning down my socialization, or if it was going the other way, becoming more social, that turns out to be the easiest kind of stress to deal with. In fact, I believe the Dale Carnegie organization has been very successful for decades now, taking people who aren't really social and outgoing and teaching them to be more social and outgoing, or as I like to say, taking people who don't like people and teaching them how to pretend that they do. But there's still stress, you see. And if that was my only stress, it probably would never be a problem. But you see, I could tone down the socialization. I could be more quiet. But you see, that's not my only source of stress. This is the easiest to deal with, though. If you really want to know, that one wouldn't cause me too much trouble by itself. But let's go look at this one. This is the second easiest to deal with. Tone down my desire to be in charge and be willing to listen and take direction a little bit more. Some stress there, but still manageable. We get over to this side, however, and this is where it starts to get difficult. You see, not only is this one of the bigger stress areas, it happens to be the most impactful kind of stress of all the stressors you can have. This one really hurts. This one, as you'll see in a minute, can lead you into heart attack country. This one is almost impossible to deal with. And this one is not impossible, but very difficult. See, I could probably handle this change. I could probably up my commitment to quality and perfection and focusing on getting it right if I didn't have these other stressors. But altogether, it was a very stressful situation, and I must tell you, it didn't end well. Well, here's why. See my cheerleader stress? This is designed to give you a relative picture of stress. A relative picture. There's anecdotal experience behind these numbers, but it's just designed to show you the relative impact of stress. The 2 here means there is some stress in dealing with cheerleader strengths and weaknesses, but it's not major. There's more stress here, and if you got a lot of issues here, this could get to be a problem, but this is doable. This is third, you see, and this is moving up the stress ladder. It is doable, and it's within the realm of possibility in relative terms. If this is a 2, then this is a 5, and this is an 8. But look at this. The stabilizer, becoming more or less consistency oriented, is the toughest thing of all. In fact, over in this area, I would basically say if you got your cheerleader things to deal with, and as long as it's not more than about 70, maybe 60% of your time, it's not too bad. You can do that. If you've got to act like a captain or less like a captain, no more than 30 or 40% of your time, then you can probably do that. If you've got to be more server quality, service oriented than what you naturally are, man, if that goes above about 30 to 40% of your time, then you're headed towards heart attack country. But this one right here, folks, if you have to deal with consistency and routine, and you're a variety-loving, flexible individual, and it gets to be more than 10% of your time, the higher above that 10% it gets, the tougher it's going to be, and you're in heart attack country here. You're in heart attack country here. Stay away from that if you can. Be a little more specific. You see, one of the things I can do in my test is test not only how I really am, but how I'm expected to be. So this shows a significant change in attitude towards paperwork, documentation, compliance monitoring, and compliance auditing, organizational skills, taking care of the assets, budget monitoring and controlling, handling staffing and scheduling. See, here's the thing. This is the tough stuff. If my job was made up of a lot of this stuff, forget it. My thinking of forms make my eyes go crosswise. What comes naturally to me is to be in a decision-making capacity, to be in charge, and to be out in the public. And these are the areas where the job seemed to want me to cut back, you see. But up here, they wanted me to be more, and I can tell you that, man, I think I had to get out of that job simply because of these things up here. It's what I needed to be at that point in time. I wouldn't have had to be that way forever, but I had underestimated that I did need to do it. I found out something important. I could delegate most of the paperwork, but I couldn't delegate the obligation to keep an eye on it. See over here, this is a slightly different stress scale. You see my green line here. The stress of the change to the right of the green line is really heart attack country. And knowing that in the future, I would definitely want to stay away from those kinds of jobs. Well, I hope this has been helpful to you.